During this 1-hour session, you will hear from industry experts on insights and best practices tied to rehabilitation. A few quick housekeeping notes. All attendees are on mute. Each presenter will speak for approximately 10 minutes, and we will have a short Q&A at the close. You may submit questions anytime during the webinar. If we do not get to your question, we will be sure to follow up directly with you via email. Should you have any issues with audio, please dial in with the telephone instead of your computer speakers. To note, we will also be sharing a recording and emailing it out at the close of the webinar. And if you need to zoom in, you can do so on your individual screens. We are thrilled today to have the following esteemed speakers on our webinar. Carol DeBonte, Director of Clinical and Wellness Support for Morrison Community Living. John Rifkin, Senior Corporate Executive Chef for Morrison Community Living. Denise Rabidou, President and CEO, Evangelical Homes of Michigan. And Julia Pratt, Executive Director of Rehabilitation and Assisted Living at Brooks Rehabilitation. Today we will be exploring the world of rehabilitation, an area of growing importance and demand in both the healthcare and senior living world. We're going to kick things off with Carol, painting a picture for us around the interconnected picture of hospitality with healing. We're going to move on to Chef Rifkin, highlighting really the culinary tie-ins for a successful program, and then move to hearing practical examples from both Denise and Julia on running their rehabilitation programs. And with that, I will pass it to Carol to get us started.
Thank you, Dory. I'm excited to discuss the nutrition and rehab care. Post-acute care supports patients who require ongoing medical management, therapeutic rehabilitation, or skilled nursing care. Research suggests that patients who do receive post-acute care following a major health episode see greater and more rapid clinical improvements compared to patients discharged to their homes without follow-up care. Partnerships across settings is becoming essential. The Affordable Care Act of 2010 reduces payments to hospitals for greater than expected readmissions, and acute care hospitals and post-acute care providers are working together to reduce these hospitalization, combining expertise from all settings that can improve the care for patients. One major goal is to improve the guest experience during their rehab stay, and nutrition services can be a great asset for this goal. Next. There are over 15,000 nursing homes in the country providing care today. Hospitals will favor those communities with a proven record of performance in relation to care, cost, and satisfaction. Landscape of post-acute care is continuing evolving as providers experiment with new models and develop new partnerships for providing care. Today we're going to hear from two communities about their services and experiences, which will be really exciting. Next. CMS has created the 5-star quality rating system to help consumers, their families, and caregivers compare nursing homes more easily and to help identify areas which you may want to ask questions. The Nursing Home Compare website features a quality rating system that gives each home a rating between 1 and 5 stars. Homes with a 5-star are considered to have more above average quality, and homes with 1 star are considered to have quality much below average. Providing transparent consumer information is the wave of today. Next. Morrison Community Living has a comprehensive solution to the growing demand for first-class rehab care. We provide a framework for rehab care in your existing communities through the environment of healing and hospitality. Time to Heal is looking at all aspects of care for successful rehabilitation, touching on communication, hospitality, dining, and nutrition, all within the community. Achieving excellent nutrition status is more than a good meal, it is a dining experience. Linking that culinary and nutrition needs and working with each individual guest to achieve their max can have the best rehabilitation outcome possible and minimize complications associated with poor nutrition. Next, our goal for each guest is to eat well, to nurture their body, as well as develop knowledge about nutrition to help continue their recovery once they're home. Nutrition impacts the guest's ability to participate in their rehab care, which is influenced by their energy level. Basically, can they go to all their therapy sessions, or are they just too exhausted? We have learned that guests that enjoy their dining experience eat better, and they rate the satisfaction of their community much higher. Next. So we have developed a nutrition care pathway that is individualized for each guest. Studies have identified a large portion of seniors are undernourished when they're admitted from hospitals or from home after they've had a major health concern. Poor nutrition can have a negative impact on rehabilitation outcomes, such as poor wound healing or just the lack of energy mentioned earlier. Malnutrition is largely caused by increased nutrition needs, such as that wound healing, or a significant decrease in the food intake compared to what they should be consuming. Another factor in nutrition care is many of our guests are now encouraged to change their nutrition habits. One example is someone that was just recently diagnosed with congestive heart failure. They now have to decrease their fluid and sodium intake, dramatic changes in their dining. These sudden changes could lead to dissatisfaction with the taste of food, contribute to reduction of intake, promoting poor nutrition status. We can change this cycle with a guest approach to dining and fun nutrition and wellness classes. For example, our congestive heart classes include healthy cooking, dining out for your heart, and grocery store success. Next. And this sets us apart. Are dedicated to the hospitality approach, our clinical nutrition offerings, and our pathways from check-in to successful discharge back to the community. And understanding that each individual guest, from the time that they do check in, and work with them towards what their goal is to return home or to whatever location they want to move into, so that they can continue their wellness journey. Developing a hospitality approach to nutrition is one way to set ourselves apart from the typical experience in a rehabilitation setting. Greeting our guests and welcoming them to the dining venues is the first approach. Continuing those guest visitations during their stay with us to assure their highest level of satisfaction is key to the rehab experience. And some guests will enjoy eating in the dining rooms. Others prefer the private times in their rooms. Regardless of the location, we want them to feel our hospitality touch. This proven hospitality approach will increase your guest satisfaction survey scores. It will provide best customer service to your guests. It will increase the visibility of dining services beyond the dining room, and it will provide speedy service recovery, a must in the dining experience. And it brings value to all of our communities, enhancing their marketability. Next. The power of food is well known. We see it all the time in the magazines, news articles. We want our guests to learn about health and wellness benefits of the food. Enjoying the superfoods from our chef's tables, or having those incorporated in our menus, such as the whole grains or berries, and of course our signature Catch the Wave hydration offerings to enjoy different types of waters during their stay. Next. Health and wellness starts with our ingredients and leads to a great rehab experience. We are enjoying that through evidence of our communities that are doing the Time to Heal program, and I'm excited to have you learn more from Chef Rifkin. Thank you, Dory.
Excellent, and thank you so much. A really wonderful overview on the rehabilitation landscape and really the critical role that nutrition and wellness play in the healing process. Let's learn a little bit more about that culinary connection to rehabilitation now with Chef Rifkin. Chef?
Yes, thank you, Doria, and thank you everybody for joining this webinar. I wanted to start off really just by kind of highlighting from a culinary standpoint exactly what Carol was talking about. And so from the culinary perspective, there's two, I feel, critical components. And the first one is food. Obviously, as a chef, you want to lead with the food, and you want to really just talk about the food and what the food can do. But that second piece is really about that great detailed service, and that's critical that both of those elements are in sync, because that's gonna deliver the exact experience that you want to give to your rehab patient or guest resident. So it is critical that those two components are in sync, and they mirror each other at the level of service and the level of food that's expected by the patient. Next slide, please. And very similar to what Carol was talking about, but from a culinary perspective, it's really about the function of the food, and how that plays. And we kind of categorize that into two buckets. The first one is the function of the food. Rehab patients are obviously there to get better from an illness, from a condition, and it's equally important that the food that's selected and offered have function. And so these are things like superfoods, like Carol mentioned, berries or tomatoes during the season, etc. Are really important to make sure that you're menuing foods that have a function that can deliver while their body is kind of worn down a little bit. It's important to make sure that you have those superfoods available. Foods that are nutrient dense, foods that deliver a punch with a ton of vitamins and minerals, etc. That the patients are able to consume when they're not in therapy, that kind of help heal the body or help the body from the inside out. And then the last thing is also being conscious of the proteins that are offered and making sure that they're on the leaner side. Maybe you look at ways to reduce red meat consumption, etc. So that's the first part of the food and function. And then the second part kind of takes them really back home, and that's making sure that there's a comfort food level that's available and offered, because really at the end of the day, again, the physical component of what therapy is to a rehab patient, often it's just a simple comfort food that just brings them right back into a good mood, that helps them be prepared and get ready for the next round of therapy. So things like braised meats, looking at like how often you have comfort foods like braised meats or pot roasts on, roasting meats in-house so that the aromas are wafting through. You can tell when something is perfectly roasted, a protein is perfectly roasted, or even making your soups from scratch, from stock, making a great stock, and just really delivering on that comfort food that the patients are expecting, or what they would expect at home. Next slide, please. And so Carol did not pay me to say this, but very critical, that golden partnership is that the chef is joining arms with the registered dietitian. And not only that, but together working with the patient, also working with the family members of the patients, because at the end of the day, when they go home, that's the goal, when they go home, that they have a really good understanding of ways and tips that they can take what they've learned in rehab and apply it to their everyday life. And so these are things like the cooking technique education Carol talked about, teaching and sharing and showing folks how to shop or how to dine out, all critical things. So having an exciting cooking demonstration, ways to help the family members and the patient understand how to cook a little healthier, how to use those functional foods in recipes that they prepare at home. Obviously, live demonstrations. Anytime a chef and a registered dietitian join forces and share their knowledge and their expertise to folks, people get engaged. People become emotionally connected, because there's that little show component that seems to always hit the mark. And then obviously offering up the nutritional information and making it readily available, because a lot of times people's fear is that they're going to have to go out and search and try to find the right information. So again, having the very experienced chef and the very knowledgeable and experienced registered dietitian arming the patient and the family members with the right information so that they can go home and never go back back to the hospital for the same condition. Next slide, please. This photo here is what we're calling our healthy cooking therapy cart, and it's pretty slick. It's mobile. You can see we put a little razzle dazzle in there with some lights that could, be different colors. But basically, in essence, this is basically a mobile kitchen, and we call it a therapy kitchen because basically you could move this around, your rehab area or any other parts of your communities, and share the knowledge again of the chef and the RD in healthier cooking. And again, giving the tips, tasting, sampling. You can see that we have a little shelf and some side shelves that we want to try to make sure we bring our guests into our kitchen as they're learning. And these are things where, they would learn cooking therapy. So how to lower fat, how to lower sodium, how to lower the cholesterol. All these little tips and trades that the chef and the registered dietitian can deliver on. Again, teaching them these skills now, so when they go into, their home health stay of their rehabilitation, and then eventually when they do go home. And again, it's about arming the patients and the family members with great information and the emotional connection and want to go home and do these things. Next slide, please. So, I mentioned in the very beginning, as far as the perspective goes, that it's really about the food and the service. And hospitality is the key word. Therapy for a patient is grueling. It's painful. That's a time where the patient can maybe even give up. They don't want to be there. They don't want to really go through the pain and the uncomfortness. And so, having a great model of hospitality and delivering an experience that's very detailed can kind of change the whole dynamics. So that's really important. Obviously, flavorful, nutrition-packed meals encourage healthy eating. It promotes recovery. Again, so when you're feeling good and you're sitting down after the therapy and enjoying a great bowl of chicken noodle soup, and maybe a tomato soup and a grilled cheese, or one of those comfort foods that kind of bring people back, it gets them ready and prepares, both internally and externally prepared for the next day. And then lastly, from a hospitality standpoint, is being flexible with the meal times. It's very stressful, again, for the patients. It's stressful for the family members. And so, they don't always kind of fall into the breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or the traditional breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it's really about being flexible with the meal program, and offering things that are outside the normal hours of operation that you would experience, say, in a restaurant of those day parts. Next slide, please. So what we've done is really coming up with different service styles and really thinking about what does the morning day part look like, what does the afternoon day part look like, and what does the evening day part look like, and then what does the meals or the offerings look like outside of those typical meal hours. And so for the morning, it would be more of a cafe, more of a Starbucks type of offer, casual, kind of heat on demand, or offered very confidential. The reason why we look at the morning hours to be more of a cafe setting is because that's really when people socialize. So if you think about your morning offerings, typically people socialize. They have a typical morning routine, and so again, it goes back to the comfort. Most people wake up and do the same thing every day in the morning, and so from a breakfast or a morning food offering and service, it should be casual. It should be like a cafe setting, and they should provoke socialization. In the afternoon, it's looking more like a Panera Bread, where it's a quick casual. It's soup, salad, sandwich. A lot of times, especially in rehabilitation, that time of the day is therapy time. So again, it has to be good for you. It has to be comforting, but it has to be quick. And so that's why in the afternoon you'd probably look more for a quick casual concept like a Panera Bread. In the evening, again, the expectation is a little more of a casual environment, maybe similar to an Olive Garden or any of those concepts out there where it's a casual food experience. There's comfort food. Again, this is really where you want to deliver. The afternoon was spent where they were stretching and doing things that their body doesn't want to do, and they're in pain. And so now when they get back and do have that dinner, you want it to be food that's comforting. And so that's why we look at more of a casual setting, sit-down experience type of environment. And then lastly is the between the hours, between the normal breakfast, lunch, and dinner hours, or morning, afternoon, evening. And that would be more in the scope of a tapas menu, small plates, where it's a menu that makes sense. It's healthier snacking. It's those type of items that are small plates, quick, and really also making sure that those tapas plates are everybody within the community have the ability to prepare. Because a lot of times in those after hours, it's not necessarily the food service department that is preparing them, and so again, they have to be simple enough for everybody to prepare or to be able to kind of assemble and serve. Next slide, please. And then the last thing is, and Carol mentioned it, but there's the debate between dine-in and room service, and really both are correct. What we see. Not everybody wants to go into a dining room to eat. A lot of times, many of our patients, our guests, want to just really kind of sit back in their room. And so, what does the dine-in experience look like? Is it comparable to a hotel room service model? Do you have the correct serviceware? Do you have the right methods of preparing the food and getting it to the patient hot, on time, etc. And then, with the room service, and then with dining in, what does the environment look like? Are you delivering on those experiences that the hospitality that you were banking on? Is it a quick casual in the afternoon? Is it a casual dining experience in the evening? Again, always focusing on flexibility, individualized care, making sure that each patient is being serviced to, and then also making sure that you're offering that proper nutrition to make sure that the patient recovers quickly, and then can also sustain it. So that's our culinary update, and now I'd like to pass it over to Denise.
Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely, Chef. And this is some great food for thought. Denise, I think this is a great segue for you to talk through your efforts over at EHM.
Well, thank you very much. So it's very interesting because Carol and Chef really paved the way for the conversation that Julie and I will have. We've actualized some of these concepts into our post-acute rehabilitation units. So in the next slide, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Ready Center for Rehabilitation and Healthy Living, and just kind of remind everybody what we're facing, all of us, in healthcare reform. So Carol talked a lot about decreased lengths of stays in the hospital setting. So by the time the client comes in our post-acute world, we're already challenged with the fact that they've been in that environment for such a short period of time. Again, we're also facing new expectations for physicians in related to what they expect us to deliver in that short stay environment, especially in our rehab facilities, our post-acute rehab facilities. And then Julia's going to focus a little bit more on those bundled payments, but the impact of some of the new joint bundled payments and the anchor diagnoses that we're all facing with our partners, our acute care partners. Dory, on the next slide, at Evangelical Homes in Michigan and at the Ready Center for Rehabilitation, we're really starting to work and have formal contracts with a variety of large acute care systems in our area that talk about and are involved in both integrative networks, accountable care organization, and many of them, as we know, are now causing us to discern and decide on assumption of risk models, shared risk models, in preferred provider relationships. But if we also remember our purpose in our subacute and post-acute rehabilitation units. The biggest impact for us, I think, in the healthcare reform world is two things. The good news in the United States is that older adults are living longer. It's not unusual to have a 93-year-old in a post-acute short-stay rehabilitation unit, and at the same time, multiple diagnoses because of the age. So next slide says that, remember, we have to remember that today's rehab client, because it could be outpatient, it could be inpatient, desires to leave healthier and with increased functional abilities. So that's, the next slide just shows the saltwater aquatic pool at the Ready Center, and we're going to talk a little bit about what those guiding principles are. So all of our clients go in the water 2 days after admission into the post-acute environment. All clients, even surgical cardiac clients, are in the water with aquatic therapists. So some of the guiding principles on the next slide are really important to stay focused on for us. And that is that, you know, we're trying to look at alternative therapies. So our teams consist of massage therapists, exercise physiologists, nutritionists, as well as RDs. Medication management and education. The unit allows for self-administration of medication from the time they admit into the Ready Center in rehabilitation. And that's because, Julia, I know this, length of stays are so short in our environments. We only have 7 days to impact an educational transformation in the way they will live. Chef talked about this, Carol talked about this, the way that they'll live in the future. So home is the only go in our guiding principles, independence, not dependence, high tech and high touch. So we're very technology rich in the Ready Center. Next slide. We've done some really wonderful things with rehabilitation at the Ready Center for Rehabilitation and Healthy Living. There is an internet cafe. Clients come in and are given an iPad, Kindle, laptop upon admission because we want to normalize that older adult as they're receiving rehabilitation. And the Ready Center has a full-service restaurant that integrates their medical record with the help of Morrison Community Living into their therapeutic meal so that client and their families can use the restaurant, and as soon as they go up to the bistro, they know what their therapeutic meal is so that the team can do nutritional education, as Carol talked about, on the spot as they're ordering their lunch or ordering their dinner. Nutritional connection continues in the Ready Center with a web-based portal for healthy living, also part of the Morrison and Ready Center Healthy Living Initiative. And again, we talked about the fact that the Ready Center for Rehabilitation has 8 certified exercise physiologists and 4 massage therapists on the team, as well as 40 physical, occupational, and speech therapists. So in the Ready Center, next slide, we do a lot around technology and telehealth. And so our clients go home with some piece of technology that is paid by Evangelical Homes in the Ready Center. And so they could go home with a telehealth device, emergency response system, a sensor system to make sure that they're moving around and taking their medication, and also through an initiative with Morrison Senior Living and Community Living, we offer chef-prepared meals that go home with them called Great Living Meals. We already talked on the next slide about the saltwater therapeutic pool. Everybody does go into the pool, so it surely isn't a swimming pool. It is a therapeutic pool, and all of our therapists, all 40 of them, including our personal trainers and massage therapists, are all certified exercise physiologists, with the hope that that client will see the benefit of using a personal trainer in the future. We do have a massage therapy room because, again, they're self-medicating. And so they're doing their own meds in their room, and so we're trying from the day of admission to teach pain management in a different way, to use alternative methods for pain management instead of taking a medication, a pharmacy drug, codeine, for example. Next slide. So all of our, because we're trying to change the impact of this older adult when they go home, all of our therapy equipment is data card driven. And so when they go on a piece of therapy equipment, it actually integrates into their medical record. It can also be downloaded onto a disk. It can be sent to their primary physician, their surgeon, and if they should come back, the data cards remember yesterday's exercise routine, and they can begin that exercise routine at the same place. And that was because we were hoping to encourage this idea that we could be this wellness and fitness center in addition to the inpatient rehabilitation center. Next slide talks about how we have integrated all of this with this philosophy that they're going to go to their home, it's their life, and we're just providing the solutions to allow them to be successful. So we have a team that goes home to make sure they're safe. We do home repairs and adaptations, grab bars. All of our trainers, therapists, and coaches follow the clients home. Again, we talked a little bit about the technology solutions, the great living meals. They can join a Living Well gym membership, and we have a post-discharge follow-up for clients for the first 45 days after discharge from our Rehabilitation and Healthy Living Center. So with that, I'll turn it over to Julia. She's going to talk a little bit more how they do it in Florida and their community, and also a lot around some of the bundled payment work.
Thank you, Denise. So as Denise said, I do work for Brooks Rehab, and we are located in the state of Florida. And my goal is to provide you with an additional example of how we at Brooks have prepared and continue to prepare for the changing environment of post-acute rehab that my fellow presenters, Carol, John, and Denise, have already discussed. So Brooks Rehab is a not-for-profit organization, and we are really focused on providing a system of care approach to increasing the overall wellness and well-being of our individual patients as well as the community at large. And we really feel that we achieve this by empowering those individuals across our spectrum of care to return back to the community and become participants in the community. As you can see on the slide in front of you, our system of care is very extensive, and it is all of the post-acute care settings. So we have an inpatient rehab setting, we have our outpatient clinics, and this extends to home health as well as our aging services division, which is our newest division. And then we have our community programs, and I will talk again a little bit here about our bundled payment program as well. So Brooks as an organization did start with our inpatient rehab setting, which you can see on the next slide. And this is a 157-bed freestanding inpatient rehab hospital. We treat the top 4% of the most medically complex patients in the nation. And we achieve this by our approach to post-acute care. And this is a programmatic approach. And this is led by our own on-site physicians. And we have specialized programs that are really designed to return the patient back to the community and avoid rehospitalization. Our programs do include spinal cord injury, brain injury, pediatrics, amputees, as well as aquatic therapy. And not only do we treat the most complex patients, but we also are striving, again, as we discussed, what Medicare is looking for high patient satisfaction in doing so. And we are close to achieving the top 10% at our inpatient site. Now, from our inpatient site, Brooks did extend its services to the outpatient setting. And we continued with our programmatic focus, as you can see on this slide, to not only include those conditions that I already talked about, but we have centers that have a specialized focus. We have a neuro recovery center, a center for low vision, a motion analysis center, and an aquatic or an aphasia center as well. After our outpatient settings, we did extend into our home health services. We do have 23 counties that we serve in Northeast and Central Florida, again with our programmatic focus. We have a fall prevention program, a telehealth program, a lymphedema program, and a wound care program. And our newest addition, which is part of what has helped us focus on the post-acute care reform, is our virtual therapy program. And this is a program where we partner with a company in California that allows our frontline clinicians to be able to connect with individuals in the home, monitor their progress, and ensure that they are on track with their plan of care and they could avoid hospitalization. Now, as our individuals go through each of our sites, you can see that we have a wide variety of community programs to ensure that they stay engaged within the community. These community programs extend from our adaptive sports and recreation to our clubhouse and our wellness programs that we partner with the YMCA on. Our adaptive sports programs include everything from quad rugby to water skiing. Our clubhouse is a unique community health program that allows individuals with acquired brain injuries to receive vocational training and job placement back into the community. But our biggest area that we've really prepared for the future and are continuing to prepare is our bundled payment program. In preparation for post-acute care reform, Brooks partnered with Medicare in 2013 to perform a pilot. With our success, we did extend to include other conditions in 2015, which were spinal conditions as well as heart failure diagnoses. Now, our success has been in large part to our approach to bundled pay. Part of our approach is having what we call a longitudinal care plan. And this is a care plan that follows the individual from their initiating site within our system to their entire episode, which can be 60 or 90 days. We also have care navigators that follow the patient to, again, ensure that they do not go back out to the hospital and they are achieving their goals. And then we also have on-site champions that are part of that success. Now, as we launched our bundled payment program, we realized that we needed to have that last part of the post-acute care spectrum, which was the skilled nursing environment. Now, Brooks offers one of the highest quality skilled nursing in the region, and we focus primarily on that short-term rehabilitation that's already been discussed. And what we did in our skilled nursing is we really extended that programmatic approach that I talked about at our other sites into the skilled nursing arena. So our nursing and our therapy teams are led by our on-site physicians, and we specialize in care in those orthopedic, neurologic, heart failure, and medically complex conditions. And by this focus, we're really able to create these pockets of clinical expertise that allow our patients to recover faster. As we talked about, Medicare is really looking at that short length of stay. So our skilled nursing sites really focus on anywhere from the 7 days that we've already discussed up to hopefully 14-day length of stays. We also focus on decreasing those hospital readmission rates as well as increasing the patient satisfaction scores. All of our skilled nursing sites have received that highest rating that was discussed earlier in the presentation and our 5-star rated facilities. This recognition has also allowed us to partner with local and national leaders in specialized programs, including Mayo for cardiac rehab. Not only have we partnered with them, but we've also partnered in our skilled nursing environment with Morrison's team. And as you can see on this slide, we do have these matching values within this relationship. And so by having a focus on providing a holistic approach that Carol and John talked about, we're really able to help that overall healing process. We do include the time to heal that John discussed, and Morrison's has really helped us partner in the remaining slides. You can see examples of special events from our Harvest Festival to our Caregiver Expo, where they've really allowed us to meet the needs of our patients and return them back out into the community successful. So again, I'd like to emphasize, as you can see on the slide of focusing on teamwork, that are these shared values of teamwork, compassion, integrity, and commitment that really allow us to achieve that excellence in care in the skilled nursing environment. And this approach and this partnership with Morrison Community Living has been so successful that we're extending it back to our system, and we will be putting Morrison Community Living into our inpatient rehab settings to allow us to continue to meet the needs of the ever-changing post-acute care reform. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Dory.
Thank you so much. The community programs at Brooks really sound incredible and are a really great complement to the suite of services at Brooks. And, a big thank you, Julia, to you, Denise, Cheryl, Chef, for really shedding some light, some great best practices and examples on today's call for those of us that are joining, looking to explore the world of rehab now and certainly looking toward the future. Now we're going to shift for a Q&A session. So as a reminder, on your screen, you will see the option in the side box to submit a question. And I know we already have a few that have come in. So we're going to go ahead and look at questions and ask our panelists for some feedback. So one of the first questions we have, Chef, is for you. The gentleman wants to know, when you have a 4-week spread, what's a good way to offer soup and salad and sandwich without maybe overkilling your menu? What's some creative solutions you might have?
Yeah, so the approach that we took for the rehab offer is like I mentioned, where it was more of a restaurant-style consistent menu. So in the morning, it's more like that cafe style that you would find at Starbucks. In the afternoon, it would be quick casual, like a Panera, and then in the evening, it's having that casual style. So it's about offering consistently perfectly prepared items that we think is going to help us be successful. It's going to help us deliver a great quality product, and then also make sure that the service part is consistent and every detail is covered. So I think ultimately with the soup question on salad is if you really peel back and look at what soups are or salads are, there's a commonality between it. And so really it's about changing, some of the components in the salad or in the soup. So if you offer more broth soups, maybe start with a base and then just build on that, throughout the weeks. You can change flavor profiles. You can go in different directions. You can go with different ethnicities. You can add spices, which could help from a nutritional standpoint. So I just think if you think about it as if you start with a core, whether it's a cream-based core or a broth-based core, and then be creative and go crazy with the ingredients that are built on it. And you can have fun with that and really kind of change things up and keep it different.
Great, thank you, Chef. Denise, I think this question could be a good fit for you. How do you integrate non-traditional disciplines into a traditional rehab model? For example, you mentioned massage therapists, et cetera.
That's a great question as well. So we have 8 certified exercise physiologists and a team of 4 massage therapists. And so we're providing up to 3 hours of post-acute rehabilitation in the inpatient unit a day. And so those therapists are taking over or handling some of the exercise programming after that client has received their traditional physical therapy, aqua therapy, speech therapy, and occupational therapy. So they could be teaching that client how to walk down the hall safely, how to equipment, how to start to increase their pace, to use free weights. And so the idea is to start to say that healthy living and this lifestyle of health and exercise and wellness is not something that's going to end when you leave. And then those those personal trainers and massage therapists follow the client home. So everybody's assigned a coach. They go home with that coach, and that coach follows up with them. And then that client pays privately for the use of a personal trainer, a massage therapist. So after a day of exercise, with physical therapy, occupational therapy, the massage therapist would come in and offer to take them down to the massage therapy room and massage those tired muscles before they lay down for their nap.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Denise. We have a question that, Julia, might be a good fit for you. Paul wants to know, how do you get around the FNF requirement that all meals are served to residents at the same time? For example, breakfast is at 7:30, so maybe not flexibility to have open-ended meal time.
That's a good question. I hear a little bit of an echo, Dory. We've really tried to step out of the box a little bit and really focus on the patients and putting them first. So by doing so, we've been able to have open meal times, and it still does meet our ACA requirements as long as we make sure that we do not have too long of a time frame between the evening meal and the morning meal. And by having that cafe approach, it allows us to do that. So really the patients, when they come into our setting, it's all about their choices. And we actually meet with them. We go over what our meal opportunities are. They are part of that selection. And then we design their therapy programs and their community reintegration programs around that, as well as their doctor appointment times, because our physicians are on site. So again, it's by making sure that you're really focusing on that individual that allows us to accomplish that.
Terrific. Carol, moving over to you, the question is, are nutritional and culinary classes open to family members?
Oh, that's a great question, and absolutely. We want to encourage the family members or other individuals that are going to be helping that patient when they go home to participate in the classes, gain that same knowledge, and again, have fun. During our classes, so that they can be a great support when they go home. So absolutely, we want to encourage as many family members that want to participate with them.
Absolutely, and I think that's a key point of this. A theme I hear everyone talking about is the engagement piece, education, knowledge, transparency, and I think that's really key, no matter where your rehab program is currently or in the future, is having that ongoing discussion and engagement of all parties involved. So I think that's a good point to underscore. Chef, the really cool fancy table that you showed, someone had wanted to know, how much something like that may cost, or if there are any alternate solutions, maybe for the interim for individuals that don't have that type of table or funding available.
Yeah, so right now we're in the process. We worked with a designer to design that table. It's very specific to, the education that we're looking to perform. Obviously, you could go as simple as, a table that's skirted and do demos. I mean, I know a lot of folks do that. You could look at, maybe purchasing a nice country-style table. But the idea really is you want to make sure that, now that wouldn't be a mobile solution, but obviously you can go and set up and perform the education and move on. We felt like, with that therapy, with that healthy cooking therapy cart, we wanted it to be mobile so that, the culinarian and the RD could kind of move around in different areas and take the opportunity where when they saw people kind of gathering. But, obviously education is education. You don't have to go crazy, but I think the one thing to remember is that front of the house component and the detail to make sure that it's attractive looking. It's, you have all of the pieces that you need to be able to execute the demonstration, and you want it to, just have the small details ironed out so that, the demonstration, the education is professional and done well and tasty.
Awesome. We have a dual question. I think that it would be great, Julia and Denise, to hear from you on, in both of your locations, how are you all distinguishing the role of your registered dietitians versus maybe a nutritionist? Is there a title distinction? Is there a role distinction? And Denise, I don't know if you want to start us off, and then Julia, you can respond as well.
So we can go ahead and talk about that. So primarily, by the way, most of them in the Ready Center for Rehabilitation and Healthy Living are registered dietitians. In our wellness center, there are some trained nutritionists, but in most of Evangelical Homes system, they are registered dietitians. And those dietitians actually go into the homes and make visits, and we have a system director of nutritional health and wellness that is managing all of that discharge to home and working with the client to make sure they understand their therapeutic meal, not only when they're in the building, but when they leave the building. The reason we use that term nutritionist is that it is accepted by clients, believe it or not, in a more progressive way, because all of us might have that coach, that counselor, that nutritionist that's helping us eat healthy. And so we use that simultaneously. But in our environment, they are all registered dietitians.
And I would say the same thing for Brooks Rehab. We actually do partner with Morrison's Community Living, and we use their registered dietitians, and that's part of our team and the approach that we have in providing that overall well-being package for our patients and guests. We do not have the phrase nutritionist, although I do agree with Denise when we're looking at that holistic approach. A lot of people would perceive that being as that partnership. But the registered dietitians do meet with the individuals at our inpatient sites, and they do partner with us into the home health arena, as Denise already talked about as well, to meet those needs.
And kind of a tack-on question to this, and Julia, you talked a little bit about this, but another question is, how do you engage Morrison Community Living in your total health and wellness model? And Julia, you just spoke to that a bit, extending into your home health, but I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add to that, Julia, or Denise, to speak to, how you're working with a partner to extend the impact of your offerings.
Actually, yeah, I can speak to that. I didn't touch base on all that we have to offer at Brooks, but we do start with Morrison's Community Living in our inpatient sites, and that really starts truly that partnership where it's that teamwork approach. And so all of the discussions around the time to heal, the hydration stations, that's all in our inpatient sites. We extend that into the community as well, because we have our own assisted living and our own memory care homes, and so we use them in that setting as well. And then we take that even a step further, and they help us with our wellness and community programs that I discussed, and meeting the needs of the community and providing those educational opportunities, again, around that holistic approach. So we really do it across the entire post-acute spectrum and then back out into the community.
And I would say that that's the same for us. We use Morrison Community Living in all aspects of our full continuum, including, as Julia talked about, into the home. So we have that team going into the home. We have a division called Life Choice Solutions, and Morrison Community Living is a very active part of that. Essentially, Life Choice Solutions is any service and solution to allow a client to improve, stay happy, healthy, and well in their home for life. So the idea at Evangelical Homes is that we never discharge, and Morrison Community Living is a part of that full continuum of service that follows them into the home.
Wonderful. Something that could be a fit, I think, probably for anyone on the call, but curious if in practice at both Brooks and EHM, and Chef Rifkin and Carol, in your experience, is there a particular service style with regard to food offering that you're seeing rehab patients and guests gravitate toward? Cafe, room service. I don't know if you all can maybe address that individually. Carol, I don't know if you want to start seeing what you're seeing from your perspective, and then Chef, and then our clients.
Oh, absolutely. Well, what I see is a need for diversity in the communities. There's not a one solution that meets all needs for all individuals or all types of rehab communities. I'm seeing as locations such as bistros, that kind of casual dining is becoming much more comfortable, and the residents or the patients in the communities want to come out and sit in that kind of a casual environment. On the other hand, many times they're just tired. They want some private time. They're with a lot of therapists throughout the day, and they want some time to just regroup, and having a nice dining experience in their room is still beneficial for them. So having that combination of opportunities for dining, I think, is absolutely critical. John, do you have anything else that you'd like to say?
Yeah, and that's what I mentioned during my portion of the webinar, is that, what we're finding and hearing is that, in the morning it's about socializing. The habits of most folks in the morning is kind of sitting around having a cup of coffee, a pastry, and so that is that cafe environment similar to a Starbucks or any one of those concepts out there on the street. At lunch or in the afternoon, it's more of a quick casual, like a Panera, is what we're finding, and it's a similar menu. Again, with the therapy schedules, that seems to be the most conducive to be able to deliver a great product, feed the body, but then also make sure that the patient is out and about and does get that meal. And then at dinner, like Carol said, it is about the casual environment. It's about sitting down, even if it's room service. It's still just sitting down, peacefully enjoying a great prepared meal with comfort food, again, with food that's going to kind of help fuel the body for the next day.
So the only thing I could add, Chef and Carol and Julia talked about this, is that our clients have a variety of ways in which they can receive their meals throughout the day, and especially in very intensive rehab units, you'll see that it's more about meal and nutrition on demand. And so the cafe is open. They can have food put into their refrigerators in their room. They have dining on call opportunity. They have a catering to you opportunity during the day, multiple ways in which to eat, because I don't know if you've ever exercised, but once you've run a 5K or you've been on that elliptical, the worst thing you want to do is throw a sandwich into your belly right now, right? And so we've been very flexible with Morrison in the partnership around the way that clients can eat throughout the day, and we have had no citations around the timing of meals, by the way.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better. I agree. It's really, I think, for Brooks, what we found is by including all of that, just really giving the options to the patients so that we can meet their individual needs. And, as Carol said, one size does not fit all. Everybody that comes to us is unique, and they have unique needs, and it's being able to meet everybody's unique needs that really allows that partnership to truly be successful.
Excellent. Well, we're about out of time, and I know that we have a few other emails that have come in and questions. We will be sure to get back to everyone, and I want to just take time again to thank everyone today, all of our presenters, for their time. As I mentioned before, we will look to be sending a follow-up email with the webinar recording. As you can see here, if you'd like to learn more or share any interest you have around our rehabilitation offerings and partnering on your initiatives, please contact us at mclsummit@iammorrison.com. And we encourage you to visit our website, morrisoncommunityliving.com, sign up for our blog updates, and also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So thank you again for your time. We look forward to speaking with you all again soon. Thank you.